Hey everyone, it's Dave Fine here with Adam Rosal. We are the real estate dads.
How's everybody doing? We're going to continue our interview series with another very special guest. We have Phoebe Jaeckels of Caliber Home Loans. Hey Phoebe, thank you so much for being with us today. There's a very hot topic around the world these days where many people are hearing about mortgage relief and how they can defer their mortgage payments or handle their loss of job and what they need to do. So everyone's experiencing hardships with this pandemic. Can you give us some insight on some relief programs?
Hi, sure. Thank you for having me. So I want to start by talking about the CARES Act that the government passed a few weeks ago. That is where everybody's getting their forbearance relief from. And basically the forbearance, it's not a free ride. There is a lot of things that come up with the forbearance. They are doing a 3-month at this point in time. And the thing that people need to know is each servicer, depending on who you make your payment to, that is who is going to be dependent on what you're going to get from it, right? So some banks are going to be offering, they're going to add it to the back end of their mortgage. That's very rare. I haven't really heard too many people do that. A lot of people are going to be making payments on it. It just really depends on the servicer and how they're going to handle that.
Okay. So it's not across the board. You're automatically going to get this forbearance or deferment.
Do not believe what you read on the internet. Okay. Call your servicer, look at their questions and answers. They will have an F&Q statement on there that they will be able to answer a lot of those questions. So whatever you read on the internet, that's probably just for that specific bank or servicer. So please make sure you go to your own servicer to get the answers, the correct answers that you need. And understand that if the one company can do one thing and another company does another, it's because of what they have the ability to do. So the smaller servicers won't be able to accommodate things like a larger servicer.
Okay. So can you explain a little bit about the term forbearance? Like what exactly does that mean and what length of time are you typically seeing that these lending institutions are allowing for it?
So right now they started with a 3-month forbearance. So say you have a payment for $3,000 a month, you can skip that payment for 3 months at this point in time. So at the end of the 3 months, the bank is still going to come back to you and say, okay, now you owe us $9,000. How do you plan on repaying that? At the end of that 3 months, if you are not in a better financial situation, you can ask for an extension. I can tell you that a lot of the companies are looking at bank statements. They want to see what you have deposited into your account. So it is not an absolute free ride. You are going to have to prove that you are in a financial hardship through a bank statements. And then if you are in a financial hardship, they'll give you another 3 months. But then you're going to have 6 months. So at the end of the 6 months, you're going to owe $18,000 on your mortgage. You still pay interest. You still have to pay your taxes and your insurance. Everything has to stay up to date.
Okay, so it's they're expecting kind of that lump sum that you've skipped payments on 3 months or 6 months. Have you heard of situations where they can roll it into the loan?
I have not.
Okay.
I have not. And
but
I can
tell you we do. Would be higher.
Yes. I have seen that if you are in forbearance, you're not allowed to refinance. And that's going to affect people tremendously because lower rates are on the horizon. So if you are in a conforming bucket and LA County is 671 and lower, if you are in that realm, you're going to miss out on a refinance because you did choose to go forbearance. So when you got your mortgage, your lender should have asked for reserves. So if you have extra money in the bank, I know at this point in time, everybody wants to keep their money. But if you're back on your payments, you need to really think about using that money to make your mortgage payment. That was what it was intended for, unless you're truly in a huge financial hardship.
That makes sense. Yeah.
And will the forbearance affect your credit? How will it affect your back end?
No, it will not affect your credit. It will show, it'll show that the payments weren't made, but it will not give you a ding on your credit.
Oh, okay.
So it won't affect your credit scores. Your FICOs will not change.
Now, what about those landlords whose tenants are either lost a job or can't make their rent? What happens to them?
So I had a conversation yesterday with a guy that owns a rental company, and my tenant didn't make his payment. And I said, okay, what do I get to do? And he advised that it's the same as mortgages. These people still have to make their payment. They still have to come up with their rent. So depending on how, now you're the bank, right? So you have to go to your tenant. Okay, what can you afford to pay me over the next 6-8 months where you can make up this rent payment?
Okay.
What I'm advising my clients specifically to do is, I've had a lot of clients that have truly lost their job and are extremely stressed. I've been giving them the guidance to save up half the payment. So they've started the forbearance with Caliber. Save up half your payment. So you have a $3,000 house payment, save $1,500. So then at the end of the 3 months, you can give Caliber or your servicer $4,500 of the $9,000 that you owe. So then you're only back $4,500 and not $9,000. That $4,500 is going to be a lot easier to digest and average out over the end of the loan. I think that at the end of this, I think one of the options is going to be to where you can take what you owe, say $4,000, and divide it up by a 36-month period and make an additional payment for 36 months. So then that your mortgage is then whole again.
Okay.
$4,500 or half of your payment is going to be a lot easier to swallow than the whole payment over 36 months. And when I tell clients that to save up half of their payment, it actually has given them a huge relief. They feel like, okay, wait, I can do half my payment. So you can bite off smaller amounts so that it's not so overwhelming and stressful for everybody. I mean, they'd have to
paying some part of your mortgage definitely makes it a lot more manageable down the line. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that feels better to do rather than skipping an entire payment, because now you got a huge payment to catch up on.
Correct.
Yeah, I think it has like a practical and like a psychological effect, both positive ways.
It's very psychological. I had one client call me who literally was sobbing, and when I talked to her about half the payment, she was like, "Oh my gosh, that helped her, like mentally put her in a better place."
Right.
She was so stressed out.
What's the process for all of this? Like what does a borrower do? They contact their lender, and then is there an application? Is there proof that you need to provide?
At this point in time, all you have to do is attest that you are under COVID-19 and that you have a financial hardship. So there's no financial obligation at this point in time to show your bank. At the end of the 3 months or 6 months, that will probably change. They probably are going to want to see that you do have that financial hardship, but at this point, no. Each company is different. Some of them, I know one of my clients called up, they sent her a DocuSign. She DocuSigned it and she was done. I know Caliber, when we first started, they had 8,000 calls on day one.
Wow.
No company can handle 8,000 calls. So the people have to realize that everybody in the United States is trying to do this and that they have to be patient. A lot of the companies now do it online. So you go online, put your social, verify your information, click, 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 and you're done. And you have that forbearance. I had one client just this morning. He signed up for the forbearance a week ago. He wants to refinance. He has reserves. I called him up and I'm like, he has a rental. He did the forbearance for his rental because his tenant didn't pay. I'm like, you have to make that payment. I said, because if you don't, we can't refinance you. I said, and you have a 5.25% rate and you're going to miss out on that. So we're going to refinance you, replace your reserves once we refinance you, and get you a lower rate, lower payment, and make you whole again, in 60 to 90 days.
Okay. So that leads me to a couple questions. So your client who has the rental property, he did the forbearance, but he caught up. So does he then still have the forbearance on his record if he caught up immediately?
I wouldn't think so. I can't answer that question 100%, but I think just because you set up the forbearance, if you make the payment, they can't hold it against you.
Sure.
So this is very fluid. And I can tell you that depending on the underwriter and their guidelines, each lender has different guidelines, and the overlays right now for this type of COVID-19 is crazy. Everybody has something a little bit different.
Right. And you've mentioned like the forbearance was 3 months. And everything's changing every day, every minute. What happens if that forbearance turns into 6 months? That's just even more money that someone needs to catch up on.
Correct. Correct. And I think this is fluid, and I think it changes daily, and our conversation right now and tomorrow could be obsolete.
Sure.
So It is very fluid, but all I can say is the most important thing is to call your servicer, go online, look at their question answers. They will have information on their online website.
So I think kind of the key takeaways from what you're saying and some of the guidance you're offering is, if you have the money, it's probably in your best interest to go ahead and make those payments, given that there may be a misconception. This is not free money. You don't get to skip out.
Correct.
And this will add up at the end at some point, and it could be a lot tougher to pay it at that point.
Correct. It's very difficult for most mortgages. There's a lot of information out there as far as, oh, we're just going to add 3 months or 6 months to your mortgage payment. So you're going to have 30 years in 6 months. That's very difficult to do.
Okay.
So that's not a loan. That's very difficult to do. I would not wait for that to happen.
Okay.
So how is your refi business these days?
Crazy busy.
Yeah.
Crazy busy. So personally for me, I have a lot in my book of business, clients that are anywhere from 3.875 and higher, actually 3.75 and higher. And what I'm doing at this point in time is I'm getting them in the system, getting them approved. Most people have an appraisal waiver, so we don't even need that. And we're waiting for the rates to drop. So I have to be careful. I can't, just lock 20 or 50 loans at one time. On one day that crashes the market. So that's what happens. That's what lenders have to be careful of. And we've been very advised about that. So for me, I'm putting my clients in the system. When the rates get to where we need, I will lock accordingly, get the loan done and be done. So it's a waiting game, but clients are willing to wait for it. I mean, if you can get 3% and that payment May or June is coming, then make your payments and move forward.
Yeah.
So I'm also very busy fixing other people's deals. So another thing that clients do need to know is that in this time, if you are in escrow and you come up with a roadblock, you need to go to a different lender and see if they have that same roadblock, because each lender has different overlays and different roadblocks that they are accommodating at this point in time. And that changes every day, every hour.
Sure.
Phoebe, thank you so much for shedding light on all this information. When we have clients that are looking for more information, we'd love to, we'll have your information below. And if anyone has questions, they can reach out to you. Obviously, if they want to refi with you, they can talk to you about that as well.
Perfect. Sounds good to me. Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Phoebe. Appreciate it.